Equation. So the idea is that it's something that when you speak it to somebody or when you hand it to somebody, you make them give up on living. And honestly, that's a little bit. I would argue that Loki in Avengers is pulling a lot of Jack Kirby Darkseid stuff, just in terms of the whole "you were meant to be ruled" thing, and like search your feelings, you know it to be true. But the AntiLife Equation is the main MacGuffin of DC Comics on sort of a cosmic scale. The equivalent in Marvel is basically the Infinity Gauntlet, which is what they're going after now in Avengers 2 and Marvel Phase 2, 3, whatever we're on. So in Final Crisis, Darkseid finds the AntiLife Equation finally. Our guy catches the Roadrunner. And things don't go well. It opens with Darkseid sort of taking control of everything, and he turns a bunch of DC superheroes into what they're calling vampires. Yes, it's stupid. They're not actual vampires, even though that's totally a thing that happens in the DC universe, is that there are also vampires. There's a current Batgirl plotline doing that right now. It's very weird. But these are sort of like anti-life vampires, and Wonder Woman is sort of the most notable one that I can think of, because they always need to have Diana
going through some type of crisis.
They have to. Well, the problem with Diana is that she can talk her way out of a lot of things. So you need somebody who's not. You need to get rid of the talkers. You need to get rid of the strategists in order for it to really work. So Final Crisis is basically a story about the superheroes not being able to trust each other because half of them are vampires, quote unquote, and the other half are just paranoid like Batman. And the end of Final Crisis, which I admit is really stupid
and really bad,
is that so side note, something you need to know about Flash is that Flash is sort of the most like physics based of the DC superheroes. He is able to run so fast that he can sort of travel through time. And what happens is there's an assassination at the beginning of Final Crisis. And it turns out by the end of Final Crisis that Batman has gotten rid of his ignored his ban on guns so that he can shoot Darkseid through time using a time bullet.
Well, I think the great phrase, he even says, "I'll make an exception this one time."
Yeah, he goes, "I'll make an he says, I don't like guns, but I'll make an exception for you." And he shoots the gun away from Darkseid, and then it pops out behind him because of physics. But during that altercation, Darkseid kills him.
Or does he?
Which led to a very, very weird plotline called Batman R.I.P.
Or Batman Lost in Time, for those of you.
Yes. So the idea is that Batman basically has to fight his way through time / the underworld in order to... It's like, Batman, this is your family's life.
But it's even stranger than that. Like, you have Caveman Batman.
Well, this is what I love, is there's like Caveman Batman, and I think there's some dinosaurs in that one too.
Oh, there are.
And there's Pilgrim Batman.
And they get increasingly stupid. That's always my issue with it.
So does that mean you've stopped Joker?
It's never this simple with him.
What's that you got there, Bats? No, not the formula. What am I going to do? Who can help me now? What's that?
It's a reference.
How about our old
Dr.
friend Zaz? I did bump into him on the way back from the gardens. when no doubt he was acting out some twisted fantasy. Maybe he could get her talking? I think he probably can. Great plan, Bats.
Oh dear. Oh, Zaz.
Alright, so, and I'm sure someone is now wondering why, despite my love, which I've not mentioned previously, of giant comic crossover events. So to back up, my favorite events in comics are when they throw large superhero groups into conflict. I personally think Marvel does it better because they have the foresight to do things like try and make them link up to real-world scenarios, like Civil Wars about civil rights and shit like that. But I'm gonna shut up now and enjoy the Scarecrow psychedelic trip I'm now enjoying.
Whee! Yeah, so Batman R.I.P. has a bunch of weird stuff happen. But what's cool about it is that he's traveling through time. Oh, I'm just gonna let this happen.
I'm sorry, Daddy. Go easy on Tom. He loved it so. Alfred will wait. Keep up, Bruce.
It's Crime Alley.
Where are you
Crime
taking
Alley in the
us?
rain.
Through here.
But it's starting to rain. Bruce is tired. Can't we just wait for him here?
Come on, keep up. We're nearly there. Please, there's no need for this. Stay where you are. I'll give you whatever you want.
Tom! Oh God, Tom!
Be quiet, lady. Just shut up.
Stay away from me! Run! Mommy!
Come on, kid, this way. Take a seat in my office.
Is he okay? He'll be fine. A kid like that with all that money, he'll be just fine.
Shut up, now. He's 8 years old and all alone. Money will fix that.
Whatever you say, Gordon. His butler's on his way to pick him up. You hear that? He's got a butler.
I'm sorry. I just need to ask you some questions. Can I get you anything? You okay? I know you don't feel like answering me, but it's the only way to catch who did this.
Why did you do it, officer? Why?
I don't know. It's this city. There's something wrong. And listen, son. Call me Jim.
And back to another wonderful nightmare level.
So yeah, so that was Thomas and Martha Wayne.
So, because I don't think we've mentioned it yet, and I feel we probably have to, seeing as this is... Oh, I messed up for the first time on these.
I'm excited to see the loading screen, though.
They're pretty good normally for him.
At the end of fear.
Oh god, I love that character model. So we actually haven't mentioned it yet, so maybe it's worth mentioning as I start to say. Bruce Wayne's parents were killed. That's what kicks him into this whole thing of being Batman. I don't feel it needs to be said.
I think Bruce's parents being dead is one of the few things that everybody knows about comic books.
I remember now.
But the interesting thing to remember about Thomas and Martha, I think, is aside from all the weird plot lines regarding Bruce sort of trying to grapple with Thomas's legacy in particular,
That's the fastest I've died yet.
Wow. Jesus, Charlie.
Got the left hand that time. Just keep talking. I'll get through this.
Ah.
I'm not gonna lie. Part of me is doing this just to see the
The death screens are kind of great.
The death screens are great, and the costume for Scarecrow is wonderful.
I was gonna say he's more built than I expected him to be.
I think everyone's more built than you expect them to be in the Batman universe.
I suppose that's fair. But Thomas and Martha. So Thomas is literally he is a pediatrician. He is sometimes he's like a child oncologist. Like he literally
He's a tad noble.
He takes care of kids with cancer. So that's the thing about Thomas and Martha is that they are the best of Gotham, and that's why it's kind of weird that Thomas like takes them through, like, because I think the interesting thing is that the basic details of Batman's parents' deaths don't really change. I would say it more is about how. Do they want you to backclaw this?
Yeah. Oh, backclaw. That makes more sense. Ah, god damn it.
Oh, poor Jonathan has a scratch there.
Now suffer.
One of the details that keeps changing is what event they're leaving, because sometimes it's an opera. I believe that's the Tim Burton version. It's one of the features. And sometimes, well, usually it's Zorro, because the thing about Batman that a lot of people don't know is that he's based on Zorro. The other very famous vigilante.
This won't hurt.
Thing.
Now, Majesty.
So you can always do like creepy bat imagery if you do the opera, but you can also do Zorro. But what's always happens is Martha Wayne is wearing pearls. You know, it's always about the pearls. And the idea is generally, aside from the Tim Burton, usually it's that Martha, you know, some crackhead just wants, you know, to I guess crackhead is not one, it's an offensive term and I apologize, but two,
God damn it.
Gotta get close cover, dude.
I have one pet peeve with these. As much as I enjoy the throwback to the old Batman games, is either be side scroller or don't be side scroller. The concept of being able to come too far in the foreground does annoy me with some frequency.
3D space is tricky like that.
Well, especially at this angle.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that it's, you know, it's usually a common criminal that kills Batman's parents. And there have been storylines where he does find the guy. In fact, one of my favorite Batman stories is Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader, written by Neil Gaiman, who wrote Sandman. And in that storyline, Joe Chill, the guy who shot and killed Thomas and Martha Wayne, is the bartender in a bar in Crime Alley, and they always spend the anniversary of Bruce's parents' death together. And so, what? You were Jonathan for 2 seconds? That was weird. Oh, that's cool. Didn't realize that you could punch. Well, that's cool. Jason and the Argonaut situation.
Anyway, so Crime Alley.
So Crime Alley, Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader is really fun because the whole crux of the comic is Batman died. And you're supposed to try and find... It's a story about a bunch of different villains sort of claiming responsibility for killing Batman. There's a Catwoman story. There's a Joker story. there's a really, really great one with the Riddler / Alfred, where Riddler is this poor, like, innocent guy hired by Alfred because the idea is that Bruce's parents did die and he decided to become Batman, but he was bored facing ordinary criminals. So Alfred, who has a past as an actor, dresses up as the Joker and creates the Joker. And so he hires other people to pretend to be the rest of the rogues gallery. And Bruce ends up in a violent altercation with Edward Nygma, the actor. It's really, really awesome. But Joe Chill has a great cameo in it where he is basically, tells Joker and Harley that they can't park their car in Crime Alley. It's not a safe place. And the Joker says, "Come on, I'm the Joker. If anybody steals my car, they know what's going to happen."
Okay, so you don't subscribe to one of the many fan theories that Joker is the guy who actually killed... The guy who becomes the Joker is the guy who kills Tom and Barbara Wayne.
No, because I think Killing Joke is a flawed book, but I really like it. And I like the idea that Joker wasn't a bad guy until that incident. It was one bad day.
Sure.
And I think what's interesting is that Sam Hamm, the guy who adapted, who wrote the first the Tim Burton Batman movies, well, one and two, is that he unified the two of them because he wanted the Joker story to have more resonance. But I think the thing that's interesting about Joker is that if they're made together, there's something really, really beautiful about that. And for people who don't know what reference we're making here, so Joker, the prevailing sort of origin story for Joker that's put forth in The Killing Joke, which is this Alan Moore book that also involves the death.
We've mentioned it a couple times by now as my game glitches.
Yes. So ripped. Jonathan, you're so ripped.
It's not so much ripped as he's just skinny.
He's skinny, but he's like Jesus skinny.
Anyways.
So in Killing Joke, Joker is just this comedian who is trying to make ends meet, and so he agrees to participate in a robbery. And he's dressed up as the Red Hood, which is a guy with a big metal red hood on. This will become ironic later because Jason Todd, who was murdered by the Joker in the early 90s as part of the weirdest event... Bill. That's got to be a reference to the Tim Burton Batman, right?
Probably. If not, we're claiming it is.
Probably. And when Tim Burton did it, it was a reference to Metropolis, so... Which is a really cool movie that y'all should see.
It's alright.
It's a silent movie, so you need to be patient.
It's alright.